my research considers the cultural, political, and philosophical paradigms regarding the making of tradition. I was working on a paper that explored the optical science in the Divine Comedy, and I came across several articles that were exposing many medieval texts to perspectives in modern physics. That's when I became acquainted with levitation and particles in general, and then I met Tambi.
I am a physicist and I am a PhD candidate. My research focuses on the dynamics of granular material from an experimental point of view. Beatrice walked me through the aspects of the comedy she thought would be interesting from a physics point of view, and I looked at those and immediately sort of thought of connections to things that I've seen in physics. And then she'd ask questions about that, so I'd explain that, and it would remind her of a reference in another part of the comedy, and we just kind of bounced back and forth for quite a while, actually, before we converged on a couple of strong themes that we felt were worth keeping.
One of the first themes that we started to explore was gravity. For us, it meant two different things. Like in the Divine Comedy, in hell, for example, gravity is also the gravity of the sins that places the sinners in various circles. For Tambi was something a little different. Another concept was entropy, and I think that was really the key for our project.
Very broadly, entropy is a measure of disorder, and hell becomes more and more disordered as you descend down until it, at the very end, appears like it reaches order. So as a physicist, that really struck me because it felt like someone was, breaking a law. In the poetry, that's conveyed through the choice of language and the choice of tone. And so we kind of were able to look at each other's fields with, new perspectives. And then we used that concept in the movie.
We wanted to present the public with something that was more explorative than descriptive.
We are so used to approaching things from an academic point of view that it took some time to sort of understand and appreciate the freedom of being able to do something artistic that sort of pushed the boundaries. The premise of the movie is to use sort of the narrative device of a couple going through a breakup to illustrate how their relationship goes through the various circles of hell, and also how the entropy evolves through their relationship. The whole thing is also accompanied by experiments that I do in the lab. So the experiments I performed are what are called colloidal depletion experiments, which basically show these tiny beads of plastic crystallizing under a microscope. And that sort of what's called Brownian motion, where they're kind of randomly moving around before they eventually find this ordered state that has an underlying chaos to it. That was a good way to illustrate these concepts we were talking about in terms of entropy in hell and how weird and surprising things happen both in poetry and in physics.
I believe that this collaboration, working with Tambi, really taught me how to widen my perspective, but also being creative without losing academic rigor.
I think we also got something from the art aspect of the project. I think that something like this is really a good way to open up more and more ways of sharing our work. And we'd like to keep working on things, artistic or academic, because we've really enjoyed sort of bringing our worlds together.